We've got to have a plan B. Not this, it's who we are, mate. You know, all right, well, if that's who we are, we're shit. After what can only be described as an absolutely horrific campaign in the Premier League this year, out of both domestic cups, including the semi-final defeat to Liverpool, and especially after Ange dropped this little perler earlier in the season.
Correct myself, I don't usually win things, I always win things in my second year.
Like me, you probably had a bit of a buzz about tonight's game against AZ Alkmaar. The last 16 of the Europa League, a genuine chance to progress in the competition, and maybe, just maybe, that elusive piece of silverware that we've been missing for many, many years. The first leg's in Holland, the second leg's at our place. It's all in our favour. We should have gone there tonight full of confidence, put in a good performance and taken a good lead back to White Hart Lane to finish the job. But, yet again, mistakes from the manager, poor performances from the players cost us, and we went down to a poor 1-0 defeat. Why can't this team and this manager produce a decent performance on a big occasion? It's getting absolutely ridiculous now. So without further ado, let's get into tonight's game and see where it all went wrong. Again. Now for me, and you guys, tell me if you think I'm wrong in the comments section, right? But when you're going into a big European game, okay, I know it's not against a huge team, but for us, it's a big European game. As I said, last 16 of the Europa League. The one thing you want to do is get into that stadium, into the away leg, get control of the game and quieten down the crowd. You know, they're buzzing for it. We're buzzing for it. You're in hostile territory. You've got to get in there, get hold of the ball, control the midfield, control the game. Now, the balance in our midfield hasn't been right for months and months and months. And for some reason, however much I love Rodrigo Bentancur, he is not a defensive midfielder. It's not the role that suits him. He's got a lot of quality on the ball. He's an experienced player. He's played for big clubs. He's performed at World Cups. But he doesn't have the legs. He doesn't spot the danger quick enough. He's not a defensive midfield player. And if you don't have a good defensive midfield player who provides a platform for which your other players can flourish and play, then you're off to a fucking loser straight away. Now, cast your mind back to the start of last season. As soon as Ange Postecoglu come into the club, he identified Yves Bissouma. He even said it in interviews. He said he's a leader, a player you can rely on, a player of real quality. And if you remember back then, for the first 10, 12, 15 games of last season, he was absolutely phenomenal. He was playing full of confidence, putting in good performances week in, week out. And then the little spat happened where, I can't remember exactly what happened, but I think he went out on the piss, didn't he, and got mugged or something, or he was in, or something. He got up to something that, you know, he was in the wrong. He fell out with the manager. And I feel like his relationship's never really recovered because he doesn't play that often these days. He's often on the bench. But really, he's our only genuine defensive midfielder at the club, okay? Now, he's not the best player in the world. He's not brilliant on the ball. You know, he's prone to lapses in concentration. But one thing he has got, or two things he's got, he's very athletic, he can cover the ground very well, and he spots danger, right? In that game tonight, we needed control of that midfield to quieten down the crowd, stop the wave after wave of AZ attacks. Bissouma is your guy, okay? Now, in my opinion, Lucas Bergvall, I thought he played well tonight, actually. You know, I love the way he drives from midfield. He's got a real turn of pace about him. He takes responsibility. But he's a young, inexperienced player. You know, forget the own goal. That can happen to anybody. But he's a young, inexperienced player. I think the plan for tonight should have been get in there with an experienced team. I know we've still got a few injuries, but we've got a lot of players back now. Get in there with an experienced team, control the game, control the midfield, take away the threat of AZ, play our game. In my opinion, we should have played Bissouma at defensive mid with Bentancur in front of him and then Maddison as the number 10. You know, Bentancur's got the quality on the ball to get hold of it, control the game, knock nice little passes in. I mean, you saw in the last 10, 15 minutes of the game, he brought on Pap Sarr, who, again, I'm not another big fan of. I don't know why he's getting onto the pitch in front of Bissouma. But he usually plays in front of Bentancur, but he sort of started to sit a little bit and let Bentancur roam forward a bit more. And the last 15 minutes of the game, Bentancur was brilliant. You know, he was getting forward, making bursting runs, playing nice little passes. It's more his game. He's not even a box-to-box midfielder, but he's a centre mid. He's not a defensive mid. He's a centre mid. He's better going forward than he is defending, for sure. And actually, he got booked tonight and he's banned for the second game, so it could be a blessing in disguise. But, you know, for me, why can't Ange see this? Why can't he see this? We don't really ever control the midfield in any game. You know, we're relying on moments of magic from our decent attacking players, but when that doesn't materialise, what else have you got? You know, it's really, really poor from the manager. And, you know, I feel a bit sorry for Bentancur because he's wasted there. He's absolutely wasted there. And, you know, the more that Ange does things like this with his team selection, with the way he sets the team up with his tactics, the more I'm starting to think he's not the guy. I genuinely do. But, you know, if you think I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But I feel like the game was lost in the midfield tonight, amongst other things. But that was the main reason for me. Now, again, something else I've been concerned about for a long time, and I've mentioned it on previous videos, our lack of a plan B, okay? Every team in the world, every manager in the world, every coach in the world knows how to play against Tottenham, okay? They know that we're going to play a 4-3-3. They know that when we've got the ball, we're going to chuck our fullbacks forward. They're going to invert and come into midfield, add to the numbers in there. But obviously, that leaves us defensively vulnerable on the flanks. You know, when the ball gets turned over, and tonight, when we've got no cutting edge whatsoever, you know, we're not putting the ball in behind AZ. We're just playing in front of them. Tap, tap, tap. They were just running all over us, turning the ball over. Straight away, the first pass was into that pocket down either flank. Okay? They got so much joy down the flanks tonight. They were dangerous. And I'm not being funny. If you've got no plan B and you don't identify it and you can't change it, then they're just going to keep doing it all night. And they did keep doing it all night. In my opinion, when that keeps happening, that's when you need someone in the team, a leader, someone, you know, Vicario maybe, Bentancur. You just got to say, fuck the manager. You guys, sit in. Just defend. Flat back four. Don't let them get down the sides. Do you know what I mean? It's fucking ridiculous. You know, if plan A's not working, you go to a plan B, but we don't have a plan B. We just play the same way, the same way, the same way. And it just wasn't happening tonight. You know, as I say, we started again with Mattis Tell up front. And now I think you can all agree with me. I said it on my last video. I think you can all agree with me. He's a myth. If we end up taking him at the end of the season and paying 50 million quid for him, Jesus Christ, I mean, he's poor. He's really poor. How he's even at a club like Bayern, I do not know. I mean, it can't be... I don't think it looks like a confidence thing. It's just an ability thing. He's just not good enough. Well, he's definitely not a centre forward, put it that way. You know, I don't know whether he plays he's better off the left or better off the right. But he's poor. And Sonny was poor again tonight. Johnson on the other side, I'm not a massive fan of him. He's a goal threat, yes, but his all-round play, he just doesn't offer anything, really. And so when we're not penetrating and causing them problems, they were just letting us play in front of them. They had 10 men behind the ball. They would turn it over, bang, diagonal, or bang, straight pass into the flanks, and away they went. You know, it's really poor. And Ange, I've been saying it for ages now, and everyone's been saying it. All the pundits, all the analysts, everyone that watches Spurs, we've got to have a plan B. Not this, it's who we are, mate. You know, all right, well, if that's who we are, we're shit. Now, a couple of bits to cover before we go and see what the manager says and react to that. I'm going to give some credit to AZ tonight. I thought they were decent, actually. They were a lot better than I thought they would be. And they kind of play with that almost PSG template, don't they? They've got that holding midfielder. You know, in PSG's case, it's Vitinha, who's obviously top draw. But AZ had Jordi Claessy, who's been around for years now, but I remember him playing for Holland. He's played at a good level. He's a really good player, and he played really, really well tonight. And it just proves the point that I made earlier about having a proper defensive midfielder, someone that can control the tempo of a game, you know, knows exactly what to do, can kind of lead his team. He was superb tonight. And then the rest of them was all basically young kids, full of energy, running all over us, closing us down at pace, not allowing us to play our football. They knew, again, like I said earlier, no plan B. They know we're going to try and play it out from the back. They just swarmed all over us. And for long periods of that game, we couldn't get out of our third of the pitch. So credit to AZ Alkmaar, but they're beatable. And again, I'll go back to what I said earlier in the video. If we had gone into that game with a more experienced team and took control of the midfield, I think it would have been a completely different story. You know, with young players, yes, when their tails are up and when they feel like they're on top, they're tough to stop. But that's when you use your experience. And if you start to control the game and don't give them what they want and don't allow them to pressure and run all over you and play their football, their confidence often drops a bit quicker than more experienced players. So we should have taken advantage of that. But like I say, credit to them, they've done well. And the final thing to mention was, what an absolute wounder with that Solanke injury at the end. We need him big time for the second leg. We need him big time. And he looked like a solid knee into his... I wasn't sure if it was his glute or his back. I'm hoping it was his glute and it's just kind of, damaged the muscle or sort of given him a bit of a dead glute, if that makes sense, or a dead leg. It's kind of, punched into the muscle because that was a solid knee into the back. And if it was into his back itself, I could see like a Neymar turn out. Do you remember from the World Cup where he got a knee in the back and fractured his vertebrae? He was out for months. We need Solanke next week big time because he's a target man. He's a proper front man. Mattis tell he's not good enough. Sonny can't play centre forward anymore. He used to be able to a few years ago. He just can't do it anymore. He's lost that bit of pace and he's lost confidence as well. So we need Solanke. That was a big blow for us. But all we can do is go into this second leg. Hopefully Ange gets the team right. Like I said, Bentancur picked up a yellow card in the game, so he's suspended. So although I'd love to have him in the team, could be a bit of a blessing in disguise if he plays Basuma as our defensive midfielder. Bergvall and Maddison. Kulusevski's injured, so Bergvall and Maddison can hopefully do the job in front of Basuma. And I think with that midfield combination, we can better take control of the game and see what we can do. But it was poor tonight. It was really poor.
Yeah, no, it wasn't great from us tonight. Pretty much all facets of the game. We didn't really get to grips with any part of the game. We struggled to sort of gain any momentum with the ball. We weren't as aggressive as we needed to be without the ball. It was a tricky surface.
Tricky surface.
But having said that, we kind of knew that from yesterday, and we just didn't really tackle the challenges we had out there in a real sort of positive way, and that just allowed AZ to sort of get into a rhythm which, when you're playing away from home, it's difficult to sort of stem the tide. Yeah,
and Ange, why do you think that is? It's because your plan isn't working and you've got no other plan to give to the players. It's just play, pass, same old. We need a plan B. We need a different way of playing because clearly teams have figured us out now. They figured us out. They know how to play against us, and we're losing game after game as a result of it. It's poor.
I don't think it's a matter of effort or attitude. I don't think it's like they're not going out there not trying. It's just, like I said, we didn't really come to grips and sort of have the right sort of mindset to tackle an away fixture in Europe. It's always tough. We obviously conceded the goal, which was just a disappointing set of events. But even after that, we didn't really kind of settle down into the game at all. And like I said, it's a matter of sort of you're going to have to face some pressure when you're playing away from home in Europe, weathering the storm and then getting to grips with it, but we never really did. So that was a disappointing bit.
See, Ange just proved my point for me. I actually done my review of the game and recorded the first part of the video before I watched this interview, but he's mentioned it there, weather the storm. The way you weather the storm is going in there, taking control of the game, taking control of the midfield, quietening down the crowd and cracking on from there. Come on, mate. He knows it himself. So we come to the end of the video. It's tough being a Spud. Yet again, another poor result, but it's only 1-0. Let's see what we can do in the second leg. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel, and hopefully see you on the next one.